Well, all right, people. So I saw the big news of the week was Sting makes his AEW debut, and I want to do my thoughts on this. Now, you could probably already know if you watch my past videos what my thoughts are going to be on this, because you know that I hate when WWE brings back has-beens from 20, 25 years ago, whose prime it was 20 years ago, and stick them in the main event because they have an inability to build new talent. Half the time, it's these people just embarrass themselves. And the ironic thing is, they did the same thing with Sting 5 years ago, because once again, they couldn't find a relevant opponent for Seth Rollins because they can't build any new stars that are worthy of being in the main event. So they bring back Sting, and the guy legitimately almost kills himself. I mean, the guy was almost fucking paralyzed, really. I mean, he had a pretty bad neck injury, and now I guess he's coming back again to AEW 5 years after that really dangerous event. I mean, that's what happens when you put people that are 50 years old, that whose lives are way more than half over in the ring like that. They embarrass themselves, and it's really embarrassing. But now AEW is doing the same thing, and like same thing with Jericho too. I get Jericho's a big name, but it's like I don't know. Jericho's kind of old. It's not like he's gonna, if AEW wants to be a big thing, like I really think they got to invest in new stars, new talent. Reach out into the world of wrestling and build some new stars. I mean, if you want to have Jericho, that's fine, but hopefully they also are building. First off, I don't really watch AEW, but I'm just saying I hope that they're actually building new stars and new talent because you can't rely on people from the Attitude Era to carry your wrestling business. That's just not going to happen because these people are only going to wrestle once or twice a year. And they're not permanent solutions. You got to build new stars that are going to be there for the next 10, 15 years, that are going to consistently be in the main event, that are going to be on Raw every week. Bringing back Goldberg or Undertaker or Triple H or Batista or whoever it may be is not a solution. You got to build new stars. If you want to bring them back for a one-time thing and they could still wrestle and still entertain, that's fine. But I mean, Sting couldn't even make it through a match. He fucking collapsed in the middle of a fucking match, and you're gonna and they're bringing him into AEW now. I mean, I hope he's not gonna fucking wrestle. This guy is. I mean, I don't even know how old he is. He's got to be closer to 60 than he is to 50. I mean, fuck. Um, I gotta look up his age because, and some of these people in WWE that are still wrestling. I mean, Undertaker's like 55. I mean that's insane. You know, and it all stems from the inability of the creative team to not build new stars. So let me look up Sting's age here. Sting is, if my phone would load here. Oh, of course it pulls up Sting. I should have known it. Of course it pulls up Sting from the police. So I have to refine I have to refine my search here. Um, but I'll go on about another thing too. Is that so I was watching the debut video, and he does nothing. He does jack shit. He he walks into the ring, and when I see him coming into the ring, I see like three or four people standing in the ring, and then he gets in the ring, and all of a sudden they're like laying down in the corner. Like, what the fuck happened? Like, I don't know what the fuck happened there. What did he magically hurt them without touching him? Sting is 61 years old. Holy fucking shit! This guy better not be wrestling. I mean TNA. Look at TNA. They fell down the same trap. They had fucking Hulk Hogan in the ring, fucking 10,000 back surgeries. Oh yeah, let's put him in the ring. Ric Flair in the ring. They had fucking Kevin Nash. See what TNA did. They brought back all these has-beens. Kevin Nash. And how did that work out for them? How are they doing? I think they're on fucking Destination America, a television channel that nobody even watches. Nobody even has Destination America. They're on the fucking like channel 986, channel that nobody fucking has. If you're on a channel that's triple digits, probably not a good thing. Sting, 61 years old. Holy fuck. That is fucking crazy. I mean, it's one thing to bring back somebody like, Batista, who's still in his 40s and can still entertain. Is Batista in his prime? Probably not, but he could still put together a decent match, or to bring back, like Rey Mysterio. Like, he's probably not in his prime, but he could still put together a decent match, and he's got a name to him. But to bring back people that are like in their mid 50s, going on their and in their early 60s is just crazy. So he comes back and he does nothing. He walks into the ring, looks at everybody, and leaves. Like, huh? It's like when Jericho returned that one time and just ran around like an idiot. Remember that? He came back, I think, in like 2012, and he just runs around the ring and does nothing. Like he doesn't even, Sting doesn't even cut a promo, doesn't even do anything, doesn't even touch anybody, just looks at everybody and then leaves. And if you're gonna, so this was a surprise return. So why does Jim Ross have rehearsed lines? Why is he saying, going back to specific instances of Sting? Oh, in 2001, exactly 19 years ago, he faced Ric Flair on TNT, and now he's back. Obviously, a rehearsed line that he was reading off a piece of paper. Why would you do that if this is supposed to be a surprise? I mean, that is so stupid. Why wouldn't you have a genuinely surprised reaction to that? And Jim Ross, by the way, obviously a great wrestling mind, a great announcer, but I mean, he didn't seem that. I didn't like his reaction to it. He seemed kind of monotone, and he seemed very rehearsed, like no genuine surprise to it. So I guess Sting's coming back to AEW. I would think he would be wrestling, but I don't know. I mean, how long have we heard about Sting versus Undertaker match? And I mean, I would not want to see that. Probably not now. Probably not even fucking 5 or 6, 7 years ago. Because who wants to see a bunch of 50-year-olds in the ring? Not me. And now you're seeing Sting at the age of 61 in the ring. And the thing is, you got a lot of talent out there in the wrestling world. You got a lot of athletic people out in the wrestling world. Not only in WWE, but I mean in the indies. I mean, wrestling's probably the most athletic it's ever been. Unfortunately, you have an inability of WWE to build new talent, to build new storylines, etc. I'm not sure what the situation is in AEW, but the fact that they're bringing back Sting, really, it's kind of a disappointment, because you got to build new stars. You can't keep relying on people of the past to carry your company. You got to build new talent. That's the key to good wrestling, to have a sustainable wrestling company. And look at WWE. They have not built one new star, really, in the past 10 years. I mean, I guess you could make some arguments, but in my opinion, not one new star on the level of somebody like a Steve Austin or a Rock. And they're really feeling the effects now that the amount of people from the Attitude Era that are big draws in the Attitude Era, the amount of people that they could, reach back to the Attitude Era and place their washed up asses right now and put them in a match is dwindling, because it comes to a point where these people physically cannot wrestle, or maybe they don't want to. So, I mean, if you're WWE, AEW, gotta build new talent. And I just say, look at what TNA tried to do. They tried to bring back all these former WWE guys. Every time a WWE guy would resign, they would sign with TNA, it seemed like. Booker T, Kurt Angle, all these fucking people from WWE would go to TNA. And it almost seems like AEW is going down that same route, where they're signing people that leave WWE, like Matt Hardy or whoever, just because they have a big name. And people like Matt Hardy are not going to carry your company. If you want to be a successful wrestling company for the next decade, if you want to be like WWE, not as big as WWE, but in the sense that WWE has been able to be a company for decades upon decades, and I mean, you got to build new stars, and you got to keep building new talent that will carry your company for years to come. Sting is not going to carry your company for years to come. Matt Hardy, Jericho are not going to carry your company for a decade. I mean, can they be pieces? Can they be parts of the puzzle here and there? Maybe put them in a match. Maybe put them in a creative storyline. Sure, but they cannot be main event players forever. It's just not going to happen. You got to build new talent, new stars, draws, people that have interesting characters, people that have interesting promos. And by the way, it's not enough to do 18,450 splashes off ladders through three flaming tables. That is not enough. It's not enough to do high spots and to have athletic wrestling. I mean, that's a plus, no doubt about it, but you got to have storylines. You got to have character development. You got to have interesting matches. You got to have put time and development into these storylines and characters and matches. Like Steve Austin was not a like was never this great technician, was never this guy who flew off the top rope a million times. Same thing with The Rock and Hulk Hogan and all these stars. I mean, they were very charismatic and they had a great character to them and they cut great promos and they were very entertaining to watch. And I really feel wrestling as a whole is and when I say wrestling, I really talk about WWE and AEW because those are the two big companies. Obviously, WWE is a lot bigger, but a decent amount of people still watch AEW. But I'm afraid AEW seems like a carbon copy of TNA, right? I mean, they're poaching all these WWE guys, and they're still trying to rely on people that were relevant 20 years ago. So, I mean, I'm not going to act like I'm like in tune with everything AEW is doing, but I just wanted to comment on this because I just heard about it. And I just want to say I hope AEW doesn't I just hope they build new stars and new talent. And it is hard because they are a smaller company than WWE, but they are on television and it is possible. So, and I mean, there are still some names like AJ Styles that came out of TNA, AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. So, definitely AEW has the chance to build new talent. And, TNA did build new talent, but unfortunately they started fucking it up with again, they were doing good for themselves for a little bit there. TNA was, they had good talent like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. Where did they come from? They came from the fucking indies. They came from nowhere. They weren't big names before TNA. But then as TNA started bringing in these former big names like Flair and Hogan and Kevin Nash, they started going down the tank. So you got to build new stars to have a successful wrestling company. So there you go, people. There's my thoughts on AEW, the debut of Sting in AEW.